Father Desbois is a professor at Georgetown University, where he is the inaugural holder of the Brahman Endowed Professorship of the Practice of the Forensic Study of the Holocaust at the Center for Jewish Civilization. I hope you get that all on one business card. That's a long title. I don't know how you do it. He also served as a director of the Episcopal Committee for Catholic Judeo Relations from 1999 until 2016, and was a personal aide to the late Archbishop of Paris, Cardinal Jean-Marie Lustiger, and he was awarded the Medal of Valor by the Simon Wiesenthal Center, the Humanitarian Award of the U.S. Holocaust Museum, and the honorary doctorates from the Hebrew University, the Bar-Ilan University in Israel, amongst many others. And last night he picked up one more award, the Eternal Flame Award, that is awarded by our annual Scholars Conference. It's actually, if you want to see it, it still sits there in the back if you want to have a look before it goes into a suitcase and travels back to Paris. So Father Desbois, we're thrilled to have you. Let me welcome you to the stage.
Tout a commencé dans un petit village en Ukraine, Ravaruska. On savait qu'il y avait beaucoup de Juifs avant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale et on se demandait qu'est-ce qui s'est passé avec les Juifs puisqu'aujourd'hui il n'y a personne. En fait, ils ont été amenés au milieu de la forêt et ils ont été assassinés, fusillés.
Et puis on a découvert que les Juifs n'étaient pas enterrés, que personne ne savait où c'était, que personne ne voulait parler, que tout le monde disait il n'y a jamais eu de fusillade.
Et c'est comme ça que nous avons commencé à enquêter pour trouver les preuves de ces assassinats des Juifs et des Tziganes.
Et depuis 16 ans, eh bien, on frappe à la porte et on demande est-ce que vous étiez là, madame ? Et est-ce que vous étiez là, monsieur ? Et si la personne répond oui, eh bien, on essaie de sauver la mémoire de l'Europe.
Nous avons collecté plus de 7000 témoignages.
Je dirais que c'est un challenge difficile parce qu'il a fallu admettre que finalement les voisins des Juifs ou des Tziganes sont contents parce qu'ils auront la maison, parce qu'ils auront les filles, parce qu'ils auront l'argent, les bijoux, les chaussures.
Il y a toujours des angles morts dans les génocides, dans les crimes de masse, dans les crimes en général. Et nous, notre mission, c'est aussi d'aller dans ces angles morts-là.
C'est ça qui nous a amenés dans les petits villages des peuples quichés au Guatemala. Selon les historiens, il y a eu entre 250 000 et 500 000 victimes.
Là encore, on a interviewé des femmes, des hommes qui ont survécu. Je me souviens de cette femme qui était enceinte de 8 mois, qui a été violée alors que l'on tuait son mari et ses autres enfants. Et donc ça nous a ouvert à nouveau la zone grise des massacres de masse dont personne ne parle, que tout le monde oublie, parce que c'est pas à la mode, parce que ça n'attire pas les médias. Et puis est arrivé le génocide des Yazidis par Daesh. Lorsque moi-même j'ai vu les images à la télévision, ça m'a paru clair qu'il fallait aller en Irak.
D'organisation de recherche, d'organisation de recueil de preuves et d'enseignements, on a développé une expertise d'aide aux survivants.
Et c'est ça qui nous permet aujourd'hui de pouvoir agir quand il se passe quelque chose dans le monde.
Certains sont mobilisés par le réchauffement climatique et c'est très important. Certains par l'écologie et c'est très important. Mais tous les jours aussi, on tue, on égorge, on met des bombes. Une fois c'est à Kaboul, alors bon, Kaboul c'est loin. Une fois c'est au Nigeria, oh bah on ne sait pas trop où c'est. Et puis tout d'un coup, c'est pas loin de Paris. Tout d'un coup, c'est à Nice. Tout d'un coup, c'est à Orlando. Alors là, on est touché. On est touché parce que c'est les voisins. Il faut que chacun prenne ses responsabilités. Yahad, c'est aussi pour connecter d'autres personnes qui dorment mal lorsque l'on tue quelqu'un très loin. Si on continue à bien dormir, on va se réveiller dans un cauchemar. So good morning everybody.
Some of you were already here yesterday. So today, I would like to explain that we are doing researches about the crimes committed by the Nazis against the Jews and the Roma since now more than 20 years. So Eva will show you the map of the places of extermination. It means that we went from village to village in 10 countries. Do you see yet? You see all these points are places of extermination. So it begins in Poland here, but in fact it begins in Lithuania, Estonia, etc. And after Ukraine, Poland, Moldavia, Romania, Russia, all the ex-Soviet countries. We never found a village where the German didn't go. One day it was a very small village and it was a difficult road to go. It was 32 kilometers and there was no asphalt. We nearly broke our car. And when we arrived in a village where they came to kill 7 Jews. So we never found even the smallest hamlet where they didn't come. So that was the first biggest enigma for us. How could the Germans succeed to go in every village, in every city, to kill from morning to night Jews, Roma, communists, partisans, and sometimes anybody, and come back safe in their city? So it took us 20 years and it needs 1 more year to finish. Of course, now we cannot go to Ukraine and to Russia for that reason because of the war, but it was nearly finished. So we tried to finish Poland and to finish the Baltic countries. So today I would like to explain you why we built a scientific methodology to investigate. Perhaps we'll open one place, perhaps a new place, perhaps Lviv. Lviv is a big city. I don't know what is in the computer because I have been myself in. So you see, that's the map of Lviv. And it's a big, big city. Officially, when we began in Lviv, it was written that there was no killing place, but everybody was deported to Poland in the camp of Belzec. And in fact, after we learned that the Jews were put in trucks in the direction of Poland, but just at the exit of the city they turned right and they were shot in a forest. It was one of the biggest places, minimum 46,000 people, 49 mass graves. It was killing during months. Nobody wanted to speak, I remember. And suddenly it was a Sunday, it was a mass, and we went at the mass and I saw the priest and I said, could you call during the mass to know who was present at the killing? And he accepted to do it. And so at the exit of the mass, 3 witnesses went outside and said we were present. We brought them. In fact, the killing was in the middle of nowhere in a forest. No memorial, nothing. 46 to 49,000 people. Not even one stone or souvenir. And we were nearly the first one to find the place. 49 mass graves. I don't know if you have video on these things. I'm not sure if she put it here or not. Yes, that's the Jews of Lviv. Ah, yeah. So I found this witness. He was the key one. So why we need to make a scientific analysis? Because the witnesses are not young. Sometimes they are 75 before 20 years ago, but now they are more 90 years old. They never spoke. It's the first time they speak since the war. So our strategy is to show nothing in our face. We are not here to judge. We are here to find what happened. And as they never spoke, it goes out of their mind like a movie. So sometimes it's strange for you because you will see people speaking quietly about a mass killing. But Don't forget, it's the first time they speak and sometimes the last time they speak. We met a lady in Romania. She said, I never spoke. She's 41. And we asked her, why you didn't speak? And she said, who could have been interested? So that was a big mistake. All these killings were public. This guy, he was a child. His farm is just on a mount above the mass killing place. When he saw the killing, it was the killing first of Italian, it's another story. So he climbed on the trees with friends to watch. And since that, he saw all the killings. And after, some Jews escaped and were shot, and his father was requisitioned to bring back the corpse. So he was in the cart with his father. So he made testimony during hours and hours. His name is not very convenient because his name was Adolf. So I think it's the only Adolf I met during 20 years in Ukraine, because after I think nobody now is named Adolf. And so let's listen to him. He passed away now. He was begging, we made a memorial. We still didn't do a memorial. 46,000 people in the second biggest city of the country. Yeah.
Можете сказати, де ви були, коли ви бачили розстріл?
Трошки нижче, там є дерев'яний, дуби стоять на тих дубах.
Stop. So the first thing to make you understand is that most of the witnesses are children. And they go there because it's like an attraction, something happened. You know, where you are in a village, in Soviet Union, nothing happens. The cows are going in the morning, are going back in the night. The chicken are going out and in the night. The geese is the same. The bell of the church is ringing when we didn't close the church. So that's it. But suddenly a big shooting, and it's not for you, so we want to watch. Yeah.
Чи з друзями, і скільки їх було?
Сьогодні вдома.
Це коли було? Вранці, ввечері?
Stop. Why do we ask was it in the morning or in the night? Because we don't run to the killing. We want to know the context. For example, if he said it was snowing, and through archives, because we have archives, we know it was in the month of August, so something is not real. So we raise a lot of questions of topography, weather, to know if it's true or not, in fact. And we don't judge. Yeah.
Ви бачили, ви пригадуєте, де приїжджали машини?
В той час привозили ще там наверх, а в той час, як я бачив.
Stop.
Вони приїжджали по
So just
ніч.
behind, there were no trees. All the trees have been cut by the German. First, people are not killed in forest. It's a mythology. Why? Because the Germans are afraid to be attacked. So there is no security for them. So normally they cut all the trees around to have an empty space to do the job. So behind him there is a mound, and the Jews arrived from back in trucks. The trucks emptied the Jews. They had to run down, to undress, and to be shot. It's what he will tell you.
Парами.
Тоді була одна, але ж возили не раз не бачили, як йшли до міста, що побагато штук.
Коли приїхала перша машина, хто був всередині?
Stop. So
Військові чи
we
цивільні?
always raise question with no answer in the question. We will not tell them were they Jews. It means we know. We say no. We say they were civilian or soldiers. Always an alternative. It must be an open interview. Otherwise, it's your interview. It's not his interview. Yeah.
Де?
Ні, там сиділи в Будах, туди Буда було в той момент. І в Буді сиділи люди, а військові мали свої машини.
Ці люди, що були, це хто були?
Хто його знає, хто то був.
Різне.
Різна національність. Там найбільше було тут спочатку, 41-й рік, то були жиди багато.
Зупинялися машини, що далі?
Викидали тих людей, змушували йти, купали, щоб вони злізали.
Вони виходили з машини, вийшли з машини, і що потім?
Їх обкружали ті охрана, і так досить щільно з псами і вели тут вниз.
Конвойні, вони вже були в машинах з ними, чи вони тут їх чекали спеціально?
Або чекати, друга машина прийде.
Start, so it's always the same methodology. Here, it's far away from the city, so people arrive by truck, sometimes they come on foot. The shooters don't move. They are near the mass grave, we are ready before, they wait. The guards will drive them quickly to the mass grave, and the rest completely, and shoot them. If they are not dead, there is not a second shooting. They will be buried alive. So many people are buried alive because there is no time, because the Germans want to come back at home at 5 o'clock. They never stay in a village or in a killing place, never.
Було і так, що вони відкритою машиною везли в місті, я бачу, не тут. І по 4 роках СС стояли, а ті так кучками.
Люди, вони спускалися і далі.
І далі тут вниз, то їх заставляли розбиратися і вели туди.
Де вони роздягалися?
Трошки там десь внизу, і то таким криком, не тому то ж. І люди кричали, ті гестаповці кричали, шнель, шнель.
So you see, you remember, you must realize we are in Soviet Union, and you remember the term in German, schnell, schnell. So for us also, it's a sign he was really there. Because you cannot, at this age, normally nobody speaks German now in that region. He's a simple man, he was the witness. We interviewed him perhaps 20 hours.
Внизу там, так, тільки з горища спускали, кінчали десь стежки, там де стояли ті ящики,
Start.
пачки. Чи
So the Germans brought boxes to bring back the clothes. So you must understand this genocide has two sides, to kill the people, but to take all the belongings. Because in the belongings are the money and the jewels. Because the people, when they arrest them in the city, they don't tell them we'll kill you. They tell them we'll deport you far away. So put in your pockets all your belongings, all your money, your jewels, everything. And so when they walk, and don't forget, it's not now, you don't have a welfare go bank or that. It was money from anywhere. It was mark from Germany, dollar from America, franc from France, etc. It was another period, and all the money was in home. So sometimes they hide it under the house, thinking they will come back, and sometimes they carry everything. So you must understand, when a group of Jews is to be killed, it's like a bank walking, because it's old money. His families were here since centuries.
Вони були металеві чи дерев'яні?
Дерев'яні.
Тільки це було приблизно ящиків.
Не знаю, то багато. Може було 2, може 5, знаєте, то перший раз, може, мало було там.
Вони повністю роздягалися, а потім от роздягнуті.
Звели їх, то дома таку сильну охрану вже і штука гнала туди під яму.
Їх повільно спускалися чи їх заставляли бігти?
Старали бігти, але вони такі йшли всяко, то було, то страшно дивити.
Стільки було тих ям?
Тут десь насчитали 59.
59 mass graves. I say that because you must understand it was a genocide. It was not to kill 200 Jews. When you need to kill 45,000 people in the middle of a forest, you need an amount of graves because you have to cover when it's full and to begin a new one and to cover and to begin a new one. So sometimes people imagine it was modern. No, everything was handmade. So you have always the question, who was digging these graves? Were the farmers forced to do it? Perhaps prisoners? Not the Jews in any case, because you cannot force the Jews to dig 49 mass graves and come back to the Jewish area and say we are digging, because we will know exactly who will be killed. What is strange, today if you go to Lviv, it's a beautiful city. This city has not been destroyed by the Germans. It's the equivalent of Krakow. It's a beautiful city. No memory of Holocaust. No memory. There is a Soviet memorial in the middle of the city, and that's it. It stays until now for me a question. When you kill people, an amount of people, when you shoot them and put in the mass graves, there is no memory. When you have a camp like Auschwitz, barbed wire, railway, gas chamber, etc., barracks, you have memory. People will go, there is a parking, buses, visitors, guides, everything. When there is no camp, no memory. I say that because actually on the planet, nobody rebuilds an Auschwitz. Bashar al-Assad from Syria, he killed nearly 500,000 people. No camp. People have been killed, buried in mass grave. No memory. Darfur, you remember Darfur? And where are the mass grave? We don't know. People have been killed, buried, no memory. So, in my thinking, this way of killing and burying the victim is very archaic. We do that since beginning of humanity. We kill people, we bury them, and we make our country. In every country. In every country. And so, I think it's also why it's difficult for the Jews to come back. It's easier to see a camp, but to come back and you know your mom is buried there and has been killed by somebody that you can find the name. You know, it's easier to say my grandma disappeared in Holocaust and to say my grandma has been killed by Jürgen, somebody that we know. So don't forget that this part of Holocaust, it's a huge, huge criminal story. Every victim saw his killer, every killer saw his victim in the eyes and killed them, baby or old mommy, the same. So I say that because, and the second thing is that these killings were not secret. The neighbors come to watch, sometimes to help, sometimes to take belongings. Don't forget that the farmers were very poor. Sometimes they had no shoes, and they tried to find shoes, etc. Sometimes they are requisitioned to do something. In any case, they couldn't help the victims. It was absolutely impossible. It never happened. They could hide them before, but when the killing is beginning, it's finished. Let's go on.
А ті ями вже були вириті перед приїздом?
Вирили наперед яму. Ми вже знали, люди вже то спасли корови, на гриби.
Stop. So you see, he said the mass grave were dug in advance, and immediately he speaks of the cows, because it was his job. He is family of farmers, so he was with the animals of the family. I say that because all that happened in daily life. Farmers were farming, teachers were teaching, everybody was in his job. A genocide doesn't disturb the surrounding. The neighbors are not disturbed because they knew. They knew they were not Jew, they were not Roma, they were not communist, they were not gay, so it was not for them. So it's a difficult point in humanity. When you teach Holocaust, you must admit that the neighbors, majority, don't care. They care about themselves. They say, perhaps I will get something, perhaps I will get nothing, perhaps we can watch, perhaps we cannot watch. So I remember I found a testimony. It was from a German lady. She was assistant in a Gestapo, but she was a civilian. The day of the shooting, her apartment gave on the ghetto. And so the chief of Gestapo said, tomorrow we bring all the Jews out of the ghetto to shoot them. You want to watch? You know her answer? She said, no, I don't like to wake up early. So she refused to wake up, and it was under her windows, a full ghetto. And suddenly she woke up and realized that she gave a beautiful coat for reparation in the ghetto. So when the ghetto was empty, she ran inside the ghetto, and she wrote a complaint that somebody has stolen her coat, and she could get the coat back. I say that because we have been confronted since 20 years to things like that. This lady was German. I have another example of a lady who was Ukrainian. She wanted to be interviewed in the church. It was Christmas, but Orthodox Christmas. It means January. For me, it was not easy because to make an interview in the church was full. So we waited the people to go out. There was a beautiful Christmas tree. There was a woman taking the dust outside, and her in the middle with a beautiful coat. And because she was a teacher. And I will never forget what she said. She saw the ghetto burning before the killing. And she began to cry. So I asked, why do you cry? Same thing. She said, I got my beautiful coat for reparation, and when the ghetto burned, I realized I would never find my coat back. That's humanity. But you must understand, a day of genocide is not a special day. It's a day where you care for yourself. For yourself. To get food, to get rest, perhaps to get a belonging, to wash it quickly, to dress in a new way, perhaps to get home. Nothing special. Life is going on. And also, the Germans knew that. They did this killing in front of the population, sometimes with the population, and sometimes also they knew the population were Christian. I will never forget, it's a village called Medjibosh. It's a village in western Ukraine. It's where was built the Hasidism. The Baal Shem Tov was from this city. He built Hasidism. It's very well known. And I interviewed a lady, I will never forget. She told me, Father, we saw everything from our farm. So I walked to her farm, and I saw the farm was very far from the mass grave. I said, it's not possible. From your home, we see nothing. She said, I didn't tell you the truth. My mom came back, it was Sunday, and she said, we have to dress well because they killed the Jews. So we dressed well, and we went. And she said, for the first shooting, we found a good place. But for the second shooting, we didn't find a good place. We couldn't see everything. And after, she said, I was thinking it was the last day, the judgment, because the Jews were walking to death in front of us with foreigners, German, like Jesus. So it was the vengeance of God. And I asked, did you cross during the shooting? She said, of course, everybody was crossing. So imagine the German shooting, surrounded by neighbors who think it's a Christian event. The Germans are not from an atheist country. They are either Protestant originally or Catholic, so they know what it is. So I think it's difficult for us to rebuild this crime because the neighbors were actively present and sometimes interested because they were thinking it was an act of God. Finally, the Jews were walking like Jesus with the cross. So I say that because you will find that in my second book. It was difficult for us and for me as a priest to understand all that. Holocaust didn't happen in an atheist country, mostly, except in East, where the people were Soviet and communists. Something else. Okay, let's finish with Adolf.
Що ж буде?
Коли вони це в яку пору дня? Ранком, ввечері?
Купав яму. Так.
Пожили переважно, коли були ввечері чи зранку?
Був і ввечері, був і зранку.
Коли вони розстрілювали людей, ті, що стріляли, вони вже були на місці?
Були на місці.
Вони були з гвинтів, з автомати чи кулемети?
Кулеметник на ножках стояв.
А скільки було тих, що стріляли?
2-3 там стояли.
How many shooters? 2 or 3? 45,000 people. But with machine gun. Machine gun, it means you kill all of them together and somebody will push them. So I say that because that's another dark part of the story. Don't think there were 2,000 Germans there to do the job. It was a small group, but with good guns and good administration and good, I would say, organization. We never found a shooting was being disturbed by the neighbors. Never. By local neighbors, by partisans, by anybody, nobody. You must understand, we have filmed 8,700 people like him. So that's another problem. When you make a genocide, and you really do, you say, no, we kill the Jews today, or we kill the Italian because we kill the Italian, or we kill the communists. The people who are not will not move. Because after we investigated in Iraq against ISIS, ISIS was arresting the Yazidi. We never found an example where the neighbors were helping. The neighbors were Muslim, were Sunnite. They helped the shooters. They helped the people who were buying the people. And they were not Polish, they were not Ukrainian, they were from anywhere. So when you make a genocide, it's like if the neighbors were feeling not too bad to be neighbors. Most of the time, they get something. Get money, somebody will lose a coin, or shoes, or a beautiful coat, something. That's finished.
Чи якісь інші німці, які їм давали патрони, там щось?
Були, то вже тяжко сказати, бо то німці уставали, що привезли тих людей.
А коли вони розстрілювали людей, то по групах чи всі по 30 машин
Так,
зразу?
рада машина права.
Вони от машину 30 розстріляли, а потім друга машина зразу ж приїжджала, чи якийсь час проходив?
Якщо то не було так систематично, то що там, чи там щось вапали, чи якось там судили, щось там робили, тепер привозили.
Something else also. It was not systematic. A mass shooting is not systematic. It's not a machine. One day they could catch 30 Jews, the day after they could catch 5. The day after you could catch 35. I say that because you must enter in a criminal story. When you systematize and say it was always like that, no, no. Germans were human beings, Jews were human beings, the neighbors were human beings, everything is human. So chaotic. I say that because in many cases, by example, the German wanted to eat at noon always. And I know many Jews who knew that, and when they saw that the Germans were going to eat, they ran to escape. I know a few survivors who took advantage of the lunch. So for us at the beginning to know that there is a lunch exactly at noon, and you are in a forest with mass killing, this place where it is special, 49 mass graves, and after the war, at the end of the war, the Germans reopened all the mass graves to burn the corpses to make them disappear. So imagine what it was to burn 35,000 corpses. All the neighborhood have to leave their home because it was smelling so bad. They had employed people. The people employed to burn the corpse were Jews. And one of them was in America. I found them near New York. We interviewed him, now he passed away. And he was employed there in this place. And he was to collect the gold thief. He was young, he was 12 years old. And he succeeded to escape. And he was finishing his life in New Jersey. Nobody knew he was a key witness. I will never forget because he spoke naturally about the bones and the fire and everything. And we were in a restaurant with other elder people. So the other people were eating their soup and listening, us speaking of smoke, bones. And so how he succeeded to survive, he saw a German was alone and he offered him a big box of gold teeth. The German was so happy, he began to look at it and he escaped. And he has been saved by the Polish, because this place is near from Poland. But you see the trick. Big city, trucks go apparently to Poland, so if people say, okay, they go to the camps. In fact, they turn right in that forest, 46,000 people killed, no memory. We burn everything, no trace. We didn't find one bone, one thing. They burnt it completely. Yes. Go on.
А за 2-3 знова привезли, 2 рази.
А в тих командах, що розстрілювали, хто це були? Гестапо, СС?
Переважно СС. І Гестапо було. Тих коричневих мали на шивки того. Це ще такі коричневі мали комірці.
А були ті, хто не були німцями, росіяни?
Були якісь, були.
Stop. Also, don't forget, in the same place, they were killing Russian, what they call Russian is communist. They were killing Italian soldiers. When the Italian went out of the coalition, they killed all the militias. They were killing civilians that they arrested. So in many mass graves, it's mixed. So for the victim, it's not easy. By example, they killed the Italian soldier, so regularly a priest came from Italy to make prayer on this place for Italian. So for us it was weird because there was nothing for the Jews with more than 40,000 victims, and for Italian was a flag, we found a flag, etc., etc. So that's also a complexity when you investigate. It was a crime. You have a place to kill Jews, you need to kill Italian, same place. You need to arrest people and to kill them partisan, same place. So for us, It was a full investigation. You couldn't classify every site like music. Let's finish.
Це ж там було якісь такі помічні відео, що там було з ним тестом разом, чи купали яму.
І розстрілів євреїв ви бачили.
Я бачив не, більше я не хотів вже, та й страшно було.
Okay, on the same site of our image. So perhaps this one. That's him, because we re-interview him 3-4 times. Here, it's the road that the Jews had to go running. The trucks were arriving on the top. People were undressed on the top. The families were not knowing what happened. They had to run down. Of course, all the people couldn't run, babies also, and they went directly to the grave. And the mass graves are here. It's a long line of mass graves. This one. That's mass grave as it appears. You say it stays nothing. Next one. I think perhaps this one. You must know we have a lot of souvenir photos of the German in the city. First, because they have good camera, and these units were followed by propaganda units. Propaganda units were filming everything, the war, the landscape. Don't forget that the Germans were making a colonial war. So they were thinking it will be a colonial empire. So it was beautiful to have image of the Guises, of the cows, and also the shooting, and also the victory, all mixed. So when you open these archives about the movies, it's hours and hours of image. Sometimes you don't know what to do with that. So you see, nobody was afraid to show themselves, and it was inside the city with a group. The one before? This one? Officials visit, so we have a full movie because there was a camp in Lviv, the camp of Janowska, and Himmler came to visit. Okay, let's go to another city. The one you want.
Whatever I want?
Yeah. She knows everything. She's teaching about that.
Do you have a preference for the country?
No.
Well, whatever. I don't know.
But perhaps we have no witness. We have a witness. It's not sure that we have an interview. So perhaps take Belzec to try. Belzec is in Poland. It was the same in the camp. So the first thing to understand is that Holocaust was criminal story inside the village, with the village, not without the village. There is no genocide without the neighbors. Because the neighbors, at least, they need to keep quiet, or they need to participate, but you need them. You cannot kill a part of the population and the others to say nothing. Belzec, I think it's...
So there was no Balzac on the map.
She didn't put it.
We can have Louis
Or Tomaszów Lubelski. Because there is a girl working on that permanently. So one part is done, one part is not done.
It's not online.
It's not online. So it's persecution of the Polish. So take Busk, Ukraine. The other thing is that when you teach this part of Holocaust called Holocaust by Bullets, it's difficult because, by example, me, I teach in Georgetown, and not everybody is American. And in some countries, they come from countries where there was mass shooting before. So they reconnect immediately and say, hey, I'm from Guatemala, and we have conflicto armado, and we have many victims on both sides, and it's a taboo question, etc., etc. there is no big country without mass grave. So even here, but I need to keep my visa, so I don't reach the American question. So let's go to Busk. So Busk was a beautiful city. Let's go further. Stop. This one. So he was a key witness. His name was Anton. I didn't find any witness. Officially, no Jews have been shot in Busk. Everybody also has been deported. Even in Holocaust Museum of Washington, I was in archives, and suddenly I met a survivor from Busk with his daughter. He was yelling on me. He said, "Father, there is nobody who has been shot in Busk. I was in the train to go to Belzec, etc." When we arrived, we found 17 mass graves. I say that because there is no pure deportation. It doesn't exist. Perhaps the Jews, they cannot find them and the train is already gone. Sometimes people are hidden in the forest. Sometimes the train is too small. So they shoot the others. So this shooting took place in the middle of a city near the Jewish cemetery. Let's hear Anton. Stop. So he was born in 1935. So he was a child. 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. So I say that because he will speak like a child. Don't wait, the testimony of an historian will give you the details and all that. Yeah?
Що тут сталося з жидами, коли війна?
43-й рік, чи 43-й, здається, 42-й, 43-й, а може 44-й, не буду, в тих роках. То, як сказати, німці їх на машині. Просто євреїв возили 2 впереді машини, 2 взаді, з дітьми на руках, жінки, знаєте. Дуже, то кричав, дідня раненько, то одразу в 5-й годині, то ми через вікно дивилися, там було гірко ще подивити, ви знаєте, дуже.
Звідки вони приїжджали?
Як сказати, це як з краю таке називалося, вже не село, а місто там в центрі. І там все заселяли, євреї заселяли. І вони їх там, і не буду, не скажу, як, ну на машину їх збирали, поліцаї там, то все, і їх везли в машину. І то стояло, як на свої очі бачу. 2 впереді міліція, 2 взаді, на руках діти, то було...
It was the first time he spoke. He was a little bit drunk. He was keeping his cows. It's why he admits easily they were Ukrainian in the killing. Because it was complicated. When you see police, it was people from the village. So it was a mix of German and local police. After, he never accepted to say again they were police.
І то везли дідня 5-й годині ранку.
Коли люди виходили з грузовика, їх заставляли роздягатися?
So behind him there are 17 mass graves. It's the only place where we open the mass grave to look at it with official Orthodox rabbis. Yeah?
Я вам хочу сказати, як правдиво. Там таких нанімали, я вам скажу. Тут вже їх нема, вони вже повмирали, я вам скажу. Заставляли їх, ні, вони самі роздівалися, а закопував, розумієте?
Їх роздягали перед тим, як розстрілювали?
Як розстрілювати, перед тим їх скинули, вони над ямами стояли.
Вони падали як один на одного?
Ну так падали. Одна жінка десь впала з корші, то на вечором вони поїхали, а вечором
So that happens, frequently. Sometimes some Jews jump in it, making like they are dead, and they try to escape. The only problem is that everybody, the blood is pouring. So they are normally covered with blood, and sometimes they don't survive. But in the night, sometimes they succeed to go out.
За хати і прийшов до нас до саду, то батько виніс їй молока, Ну, молоко, хліба дав. А там ліс недалечко є. Каже, до лісу втікає.
От, ну, роздягалися люди, скидали одяг і його забирали.
А хто хотів, ті, що заставляли їх закопувати, розумієте, то їм віддавали, розумієте, той одяг.
А ти показати, де були ці ями?
О, прошу, то
Stop.
ось ті ями, гляньте.
You see, he
Well,
knows where are the mass grave. I say that because it was a big challenge because there was Jewish cemetery on the top and Jews have been shot just after. And only this man accepted to show the places at the beginning. After we found 25 witnesses.
Ями, оті вагоничі, гляньте, ззаді. От і все, і туди, то все є.
Як ви думаєте, стільки тут є тих ям?
А ви порахуйте. Я не рахував. Ну, я не рахував, то гляньте, от вічі ви маєте. Раз, два, три, ви маєте 4, 5,
In fact,
що добавило, то все
in
ями.
fact, there are 17 mass graves. And his house just is on the top, so his family saw everything from the house, even tried to save Jews different times. They are really nice people. I knew his wife and the children. They did what they could. And he was the person who helped us to open the grave and to do everything. Without the neighbors also we couldn't work.
Як там не один чоловік яма велика, знаєте, то там може було і скільки. І могло і 50 бути, і 100. На день машина, дві машини везуть з ними. Ото що раненько, 5 годині, на день 2 машини. А скільки на машину, тільки великі ті машини, німецькі. А вони горілку ще пили, от я там заглядав зі сараю. Вони, знаєте,
Німці.
так.
А водка, ця горілка, це вона була в...
Я не скажу, то штаб.
Stop. We raised this
Коли вони
question because
стріляли.
we know the German didn't want to drink vodka. There was always German schnapps in the truck. It was an official processus, I would say.
Ви чули, це було такими очередями чи один за одним хлопки такі?
Тут тут ніхто не був з людей, не могли ще дивити. А то я вам кажу, що як там сарай вийду, то через то, ось сарай стояв, видите, де той забор, бачите? Цей забор, він загороджений був так кругом. А там була остання де та хата перша. І там студова була. А там було такі, а німці може...
Ви чули, може, що вони, це була автоматна така черга, чи по одному з пістолетами стоїть?
Ні, то так з чергою.
Ну, люди звали на допомогу, просили врятувати їх.
Ми на українській мові, а вони на своїй мові, на єврейській мові. А кричали, діти кричали, як їхали на машині, то ай, вай, 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 ай, кричали страшне.
Скільки там вас було дітей, хто бачив?
Бачиш, там вже такого немає, бо то багато приїхало з Польщі людей. А я місцевий, мій діду.
Дітей у вас скільки було?
А?
Тоді скільки дітей було?
Ну, може, 4-5 було.
Let's stop with him. Do you have other picture to show? Do you have picture of the excavation? So I will finish by that, and after it's open to any question. Perhaps I will show you. Yeah. Perhaps this one. That's the mass grave we opened. You see a field of mass grave. So also people imagine German very well organized, perfectly done, like a camp. No. It was dug by local people. They were digging a grave, and sometimes it's too small. You have to come back the day after to dig another one. Jews have to wait to be killed. Sometimes it's a big one because they found women with children, etc., etc. What we found in each mass grave was very difficult because you saw how they died. For example, one mother, she had only one bullet in the leg, and she was with her teenager who tried to escape. So she has her teenager in her hand, and everybody is buried alive, and the child, and the mother. Another one, she was stuffed with the sand, she tried to protect her mouth, and she has been buried alive. So it was difficult to find all that. This one also. You see, the cemetery and the places of the mass grave. it was difficult because we have to do everything with local people. So you must understand, animals are in the middle, like if nothing happened. To this one, to see something else. I think there is no witness in the video. Okay, so let's finish with that. Any question? But you see, is what Yahad, my organization, is what we are doing since 20 years, to investigate place by place, to find the evidence for each crime, to explain it, and to try to say, please in the museums, please in your class, reintegrate the neighbors. Don't say it happened in the middle of nowhere in a secret place. It was not true. The neighbors were always here, sometime participating, sometime watching. But they needed the neighbors to do the job, because the Germans didn't want to do the dirty job. They didn't want to clean, they don't want to put ashes, they don't want to dig, they don't want to fulfill the mass grave. It's not their job. And they have no time. They go, they shoot, and they go back. And all the locals have to do the rest. Thank you. Any question?
Father, you said you did some work in Poland as well. Did you find, I know there are a lot of camps that were in Poland, but did you find a lot of the same things in Poland in the villages there, or are you still doing that work?
We are still doing. If we find the money, we'll finish Poland, because it's a budget, you know, to make investigation. And actually, we have teams where we'll go 6-7 times to Poland. This girl is coming. In Poland, it's something else. It was, by example, I was near the camp of Sobibor, and there was a working camp. And every Monday, the Jews were too sick, were brought to the camps by the farmers. So I found the farmer was driving. And if the Jews died in this camp, not Belzec, not Sobibor, another camp, he had to bury them. And we found 200 mass graves behind his home that they did themselves. So there are many, many cases. But we estimate that in Poland, 1 Jew per 10 has been shot. And there are mass graves everywhere. And even near Auschwitz, we found a mass grave with 4,500 people. Because they didn't want, in many cases, to block the camp with the local Jews. Because you don't imagine in Auschwitz, people arriving with horses and cars and all their animals. So they tell them, do the job on the ground, don't bring them.
We have 2 mics, one on that side and one here on the left. If you raise your arms.
So, over here, two questions. Germans went into Lithuania first, and they were in a hurry. Do you know if it was organized, the Holocaust by bullets in the first towns? Was it organized, or was it were they hurriedly shot and then moved on quickly in the Blitzkrieg?
You mean in Lithuania? Yes. In Lithuania, it's special because most of the time it's the Lithuanian who kills the Jews. And so when the German arrived, he was very upset because he had to be yelled by Himmler. So he made a false report that he did the job. What is very complicated for me to understand is how, in same time, in many villages, people were killing the Jews. We found, I think, in Lithuania, 328 extermination sites, and it's a small country.
Do you know the Germans that were doing the shooting, did they volunteer or were they assigned?
It's very complicated to answer to this question. By example, one guy, he was a driver of a chief of unit, and one day his boss say, I want to put your feet in the mud. He forced him to shoot 3 hours, and after he came back, he stayed a driver. There are many, many different cases.
I'm trying to understand the number of Roma victims, and there's a big range if you read different articles. So as far as Roma victims of the Holocaust and Roma victims of the Holocaust by bullets, could you give an estimate, and were they also shot in these same events and in the same mass graves as the Jews?
In Soviet Union, they were shot like the Jews. If they found Roma, rich, not rich, nomadic, sedentary, they shoot them. And it was not complicated because in the ID it was written nationality, like the Jews. I cannot give you the number. I'm not an accountant of the dead. Only Himmler perhaps could give you a very good answer, but he passed away. And so, no, I cannot give you a real answer. We are actually preparing a map of the Roma because nobody does that. They are like second-rank victims, and it's not true. Sometimes it's mixed. For example, in Russia, in the end of Russia, I found a place when they killed the same day the Jews, the Roma, and the communists in the same mass grave. And as it was communist, after they were farming on that, it was a big field of corn, nothing under, no memorial. What we found is we found only 2 mass graves of Roma with a memorial. Nobody will pay to make even a small memorial.
Father, you showed us a mass grave that was excavated. Is that the only one? Because I had always understood that the Jewish graves would not be disturbed. But can you tell us about why that one was excavated?
Because the Jews, it was the beginning of our research, and the Jews, we wanted to make a big national exhibit in Paris, and the leader of the museum said you have to open, otherwise people will say it's a false story was built, there is nothing under the grass. And so we opened it with the authorization of legal Orthodox people. I did it with Zaka, the Israeli organization. But we didn't do it another time. To open these mass graves, it took 27 days on the ground. And we had to sleep on the ground because people were coming to look for gold. And I took 3 showers per day because I was smelling the death. It's complicated to understand even 70, 80 years after, when you open a big mass grave like that, it's an awful smell. I say that because, but when you open it, it's like if it was yesterday. You see the clothes, you see the keys in the pocket, you see everything. And one day, it was terrible, we are nearly finished, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and I arrived from the top, and I saw all the gold teeth shining. So I understood we had to protect the place because otherwise the neighbors will reopen it immediately.
Father Desbois, I want to thank you and thank Yahad and Unum for the incredible work you're doing. We spoke a little bit yesterday, and you told me that when you were in Rivne, someone tried to assassinate you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd like to know how much resistance you're getting from the local population in terms of the work that you're doing.
In majority, we have been well received. For different reasons, it depends on the country. For example, in Belarus, it's a communist country. As my grandpa has been deported in a communist camp, they saw me on the good side. And we never got a problem. In Ukraine, in Western Ukraine, the north, like Rivne, it was dangerous. One day, effectively, I made an interview behind a building and somebody shot to me from the floor to me. But I would say globally, we never got so many problems. We have much more problem when you work in Iraq today or in Ukraine today. Because when a missile is coming, you don't know where it will fall. The actual war is very different because you are not safe. For example, when I go to the front, for example, a journalist wrote me yesterday, say, would like to go with you in Ukraine to the front. They don't realize what it means. Because if it's a bad day.
Has some historian interviewed shooters?
Sorry?
Has some historian interviewed some of these shooters? The perpetrators?
As a perpetrator, they never accepted to speak. We have some interview in the trials. We have the archives, the German archives, of course, a lot of German archives. We use the German archives. Sometimes we know the name of the shooter, but first we began very late, and secondly, Germany is protecting its citizens. And no, it was not. You must understand, we were running, and we are still running to finish finding 2,000,002 Jews. So all the rest we didn't do. I didn't want to go in Germany, in Stuttgart, to run after. Other people did that, like the Klarsfeld, like other people, like Simon Wiesenthal Center. We cannot do both. Without our research, we'll never know where are these 2 million Jews? And we will never know even it was 2 million Jews. You know, when you make such investigation, you are completely focused. Because
we have one more question.
Yeah, so my question is, and also because you're a professor at Georgetown, so at this time when we have so much research, the wonderful work you're doing in museums and mandates and books and films, it seems like so much work has been done, yet the new research says 50% of Americans 18 to 29 think the Holocaust was or possibly was a myth. And so even with all this forensics and work and advancements and passion to teach it, why are we failing, and what can we do so that, you know, otherwise, what is the purpose of doing this work?
you are not failing, but we are entering in a new time, you know. Somebody who is 18 now, it's not the story of his grandpa, but grandpa. And you know, the memory stops at grandpa. For example, me, one of my grandpa died in the First World War, and I never went to see the grave. And it's in France, because it's grandpa. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the new generation, I don't know, perhaps in Dallas they are smarter, but in Washington it's not the case. When they begin my class, they know nothing. They know the name of Hitler and the name of Auschwitz, and that's it. And if you ask them when it was, for example, who delivered Berlin, no idea. They know D-Day because they have seen a movie, that's it. So you must understand, it's always a strong challenge to educate. Me, I think we must educate globally, but we must train people as investigators to be strong tomorrow against deniers. Because tomorrow, me, when I begin my class, I say, let's make the list of the country where we don't teach Holocaust in high school. 75% of the planet. So people don't realize there are America, there are museums everywhere. They think that everybody is learning about Holocaust, but if they go to China, or India, or Pakistan, or Iraq, they say, hey, you know Holocaust? Of course not. Of course not. And so, I think we have to wake up that we are a minority teaching that. We are a minority keeping this memory. So we have to enter in a strategy of minority. Otherwise, we dream, say everybody will learn it because we have museum, it's mandatory in our state, etc. etc. Okay, but the guy who is coming from Sri Lanka, why he would be worried about Holocaust what happened in Europe when it was his grandpa? And nobody is worried about Sri Lanka here. So we are confronted to that. But on the good way, I find new generations of students who want to do something to heal the planet. I ask to my students, why do you come to my class? It's a difficult class, it's a forensic. They say, because we want to do something in our life for that. So sometimes they will go to Rwanda, sometimes they will enter in a big NGO, or in Jewish organization, or in CIA, but they want to do something. And me, I am optimist, because I saw 1/3 of my students found a way to do something in their life. You know, when you begin Georgetown, you want to be a lawyer or a banker, and suddenly when you say to your mom, I will be FBI, it's not the same salary. And so, but I saw that the family were okay. And so I think you have in America a generosity of the young people in the family. So I'm very positive, but you must enter in a strategy of minority. The big mistake is to say, is it 50% not know Holocaust? Okay, how many knows the number of people killed by the Japanese? Nobody. 20 million it was Chinese. So it's not nothing. And so you must understand, if we are in a strategy, the Jews must not dream. They are a minority. If they believe they make a strategy of majority, their friends will say you are great. But it will not be the case. And we see that with Israel today. We can dream what they want, we can be Netanyahu or not Netanyahu, but in any case, at the end, it will be a problem of a small state in a big Islamic territory. And so me, I think if we train leaders, you are lucky, you have a center in Dallas, you have a very talented guy like this professor who is coordinating, it's a big luck. but try to make grow. If you succeed to make grow in the 10 years, 5, 6 people, you succeeded. You succeeded. But if you make a statistic in Dallas and you say, oh, come on, 50% don't know Holocaust, they just arrived from Mexico and they don't know Holocaust, come on, they should know Holocaust. And so, but what do you know about the killing in Mexico? So you know, people arrive with their background. Actually, by example, we opened an Holocaust museum in Guatemala. Everything is in Spanish. It's the first time, and it's mandatory. All the people come, because it's an obligation. When I began to do that in Guatemala, people were yelling, why in Guatemala? And I say, if I made the second museum in Paris, you would be very happy. But Central America knows nothing, and half of them will be American. So I think we must be happy to work together with a strategy of minority. But it's not easy. When you say we need to raise money for a museum in Guatemala, people say, where is Guatemala? You know, they think it's Hong Kong. No, it's 2 hours and a half from Miami. So I try to stay in that. You know, I work with the Jews since 30 years now, and I always say, don't dream. You are not 1 billion. You are 13, 14 millions. If you stay in a strategy of minority, you will succeed. If you forget it, you will be completely pessimist. To teach Holocaust, you must love life. Otherwise, don't do it. Don't do it.
Thank you very much. I think there's no better way to end today's lecture than what you just said, that you also got to love life. One thing that I do, though, want to add, spend some time on this website. I mean, we've drawn quite a bit from it. We've learned about the testimonies, the map, but there's a lot more, which on and off popped up on the right side, that his team not only went out to identify really the graves and to interview any existing neighbors, but also did extensive archival research. And so you saw that on and off pop up, German sources, Soviet sources. So all of this is brought together in one place. There's also search capacities beyond that, which allow you to search for particular aspects of the killing, how it was carried out. So it's a phenomenal site that has been built over the years. And the best way of honoring the work that has been done is use it. Thank you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again.